This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, back-to-backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. We are out here. Another week, another Tuesday, another awesome guest for the show. And my guest this week is Sneek. He's making some of the craziest mid-tempo bass music just in existence right now. He's got the ear of every big name in the game, from Bass Nectar, Rez, Excision, on down the line. And he's got a brand new song called Grudge that's out right now. And I hope after you listen to this that everybody goes and checks it out. I'm recording this a couple days early. I'm about to fly back to Minnesota for a wedding. I was born there. My folks are still there. Gonna get some family time in. So I gotta knock these out. As always, I want to make sure everybody is following the Back to Bangers Spotify playlist. This is the playlist that I update every single week with all new music from myself, my guests, and everything that we talk about in each of these conversations that you guys are listening to. So if we mention a song that you don't know or a song that you forgot about and you're like, oh yeah, that's a great song, I want to hear that song, or anywhere in between, all you have to do is just go follow the Spotify playlist. The link to that is in the description of this episode. I also tried a little experiment on Twitter earlier this week, just kind of put a call out into the atmosphere to see who you guys want to appear on this show. And it was actually really cool. I got a ton of responses from it, some great ideas. So I want to do that here on the show too. If there's a guest that you want to see appear on this show, send out a tweet, tag them, tag me, tag the show. I'm at Willy Joy. The show is at Back to Back Pod. And let them know they should be on this show. There have actually been times where listeners of this show have helped make those connections that led to somebody appearing on Back to Back. And I really love that. This is a community show. I love getting you guys involved. So, have a think about it. If there's just an amazing guest that you think would be awesome to hear from, just let them know. Send the tweet, tag us all. Let's make it happen. You can also email me at backtobackpod@gmail.com with all of your questions, comments, concerns, the weird lump on your butt that isn't going away. Whatever you're thinking about, I'm here for you. backtobackpod@gmail.com. I was pretty stoked for this week's episode with Sneek. I met up with him last week in Los Angeles. He had me over to his apartment, and in the hour that it took to do the podcast, his dog tried to eat my shoes, my bag, a lot of our audio cables that we were using to record. Basically, it was holding us hostage the entire time, so shout out to Butters. You are an irresponsible dog. But we had a great conversation. Sneek lives in a building with Getter, who I'm sure a lot of you listening know, and also with Diablo, an amazing hip-hop producer who's just killing the game right now. And it was just a cool, creative atmosphere. You could just tell there was a lot going on, boxes of merchandise, art on the walls. It was a good vibe. Sneek and I actually share the same manager, but we had never really met before, never really gotten a chance to talk. And I've been a fan of his music for a while, so this was really awesome. It's a cool time to be talking to him because he really is an artist that everyone needs to be watching right now. And I'm really excited to see how his career evolves over the next 6 months, 12 months. The mid-tempo bass sound that he's got is just crazy. Doesn't sound like anybody else, but it's so timely. And it's funny, you'll hear us talk in the conversation. He's been making music like this for years, but he just hadn't been putting it out. And now all of a sudden that he started putting it out, there's all these other people making it, and it's kind of this big movement. So he's hitting the right place, right time thing, square in the middle. And his vision for the project is really interesting. Every single song, from the artwork to the music to the backstory, he creates these elaborate stories behind every single song. If you look into it, follow him on social media, he's always posting up these narratives. They connect with one another, song to song. He's building a story, a whole world. It's a really cool way of putting out art, and it's something that I really don't see many other people doing. His new song called Grudge is out right now. Check out everything else he's been dropping in the last few months. It's well worth your time. And I'm going to let him tell you all about it right now. This is me and Sneek, back to back. Let's go. It's always a funny way to like meet somebody on the podcast. But in a way, I sort of felt like I knew you a little bit because, I mean, obviously we work with the same manager. We're both friends with Christian, who I know you've known for a while.
Yeah.
And now you're out here, man. And I'll be honest, like the one thing that makes me jealous of not living in LA is that I see the like friend groups that you guys have out here. Not just you, but like, you know, I like you and Christian and Tanner and all them. I see you guys running around. I'm just like, man, that does look fun. Because in San Diego, it's just like, it's the best, but it's more isolated.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of like when I was younger and like would just run around with my friends. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing that a little bit in LA.
That's what LA is, though. It's like a big like high school, like playground, pretty much, like
for better or for worse.
Yeah, but like I don't know, it's fun, but I don't leave the house a lot. I just hang out with like my roommates and like a couple of friends, like Christian and like Half Empty and a couple of other people.
But that's kind of what you have to do, almost, right? Is just like find your circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise, I mean, LA is full of fucking weirdos.
Yeah,
you can't just go out there by yourself.
True that.
How long ago did you move here? You said 2 years?
Just about 2 years now, yeah. I went on the What the Frick tour with Getter and a bunch of friends and moved here directly afterwards.
Okay. Was that a planned thing or did you decide like...
Yeah, so we were looking at apartments a couple of months before we went on tour, and they actually moved out of their spot and put everything in storage, and just moved in here directly before.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And you were coming from San Francisco?
Yeah, that area. I was about 45 minutes south.
Is that where you were born?
Yeah, I was born and raised in San Jose.
Oh, San Jose.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out. I just played in San Jose a little while ago.
Nice. Yeah,
that was my first time ever there.
Oh, really?
Here's how it struck me, and I've only been there one night in my entire life, so you can tell me if I'm totally off base. But what it struck me as was basically now that all the tech is there, it's super nice and there's a bunch of money, but if you just look like one layer back, it's just like, seems like it didn't used to be that nice.
No, definitely not. It's a giant suburb.
Yeah.
Like San Jose, it's just a huge suburb. There's like downtown is kind of a small area, to be honest. And then like around that, just tons of suburbs for miles.
Did you have kind of the stereotypical suburban experience growing up?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you're out here kind of in the LA suburb area too.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like kind of doing what I'm used to, I guess. But
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
It feels nice though. I don't like being dropped in the middle of a city. It's way too busy and crazy for me.
Yeah. Are you the kind of person who you need a little privacy, a little space?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Which is weird to say because I'm that way too. And now that I say it, I'm like, well, everybody's that way. But then we were just talking before we started recording about these crazy people who, live in the middle of Hollywood. And I don't know, man. I've never been able to fully understand.
Some people really like it.
Yeah.
They just like being in the shit.
Being in the chaos
like,
all the time.
Just listening to homeless people scream outside their window for like 2 hours every morning.
I mean, that does sound pretty good.
You never have to set an alarm.
That's very true. But you also don't get to choose when you wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem.
What did your folks do? Like why San Jose?
So my dad is an engineer at Hitachi. He works on disk drives. It's very, very specific stuff. And like, I still don't understand a lot of it after like,
Yeah.
this long, so I doubt I'm going to be able to make you guys understand that. But
my dad was basically a coder, like a software consultant for 40 years, and it's still a little unclear to me. Yeah,
it's like a different language. Yeah, he wrote a book that was like so specific. I think it's used for like college courses.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can buy it on Amazon. So go support my dad, guys.
Yeah, this is actually the reason for the podcast today, guys. We're here to plug Sneek's dad's book.
And my mom is a music teacher, actually. She teaches voice lessons in our house, and then she also teaches a children's choir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were growing up with people coming in to take lessons?
Yeah. It was actually like kind of annoying a lot of the time because you'd wake up at, I don't know, whatever time on the weekends and you'd just hear like, oh, like they're doing like these little scale exercises. So it's like just kind of mindless. Like,
well, it's
up
probably
and down,
like not great singers all the time either.
Actually, more than half of them were probably pretty decent.
Okay.
Yeah, but
that's good.
every once in a while, there's that one who you're just like, oh.
Were you musical as a kid, or because sometimes I feel like if a parent is like into music, then you're like, nope, don't want to do it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the opposite. No,
well, it could go either way, right?
Yeah. So, me and my brother at I don't know what age 6 or something, my parents were just kind of like, yo, pick an instrument. Like, this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
We were like, okay. So my brother had picked piano and I picked guitar. So I've been playing guitar for a very long time.
Those are both very good choices, man.
Yeah.
You could have picked way worse instruments.
Yeah, true. Could have been like, yeah, I want to play the sitar.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we don't have $6,000. I'm sorry.
Right, yeah. Then your parents are like, fuck.
Why'd you pick that, dude?
But no, I mean, I think both the piano and the guitar give you a good foundation for anything you want to do in music later.
Oh, absolutely.
What caught your ear first? Like, what kind of music was surrounding you that really, made you passionate about it in a way you might not have been about something else?
To be honest, growing up and getting into slightly heavier stuff as I grew up, I really got into technical death metal. And I think that is kind of what pushed me to really take music seriously in the first place, just because you can't play any of that stuff on guitar unless you go home and practice it every single day for hours,
That's true.
Like, you can't do any of it. It's really, really complicated.
Even just like listening to it, like you can't really just casually listen to that kind of music.
Yeah, it's like it's like you're involved.
Yeah, you got to invest.
It's not background music. It's very intense. But yeah, anyways, I would practice like every day, like all the time, and I got pretty good. I think so, at least.
Yeah. Were you playing in bands?
No, actually, that's funny because that's how me and Tanner met in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We actually, our Spanish class, before we knew each other, there was this kid who just started like doing his little pig squeals at the back of the classroom. We all turned around and we're like, what the fuck is wrong with that kid? But then we're like, you like metal? And I was like, yeah, I like metal. We tried to be in bands together for a bit, but like could never really do something good, I guess. We did a shitty duo at one point called the Boogaloo Swamp Ride, where
great name.
We didn't even know how to write MIDI at the time, so we were like, we hooked up Xbox 360 Guitar Hero controller and did the kick drums with like the strummer. Whoa. And like it just sounded awful because it was like not quantized or anything.
That's
it just
kind of
was
an
like,
amazing hack to do.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty insane. But then we just like did that and screamed and played guitar and it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
No, I was a big metalhead growing up. Not so much like the technical stuff, but more of the like groovy and just like Pantera and Korn and that kind of thing. But yeah, I played in a bunch of metal bands, and that was definitely my like age 13 to 16 was pretty much all I cared about.
Yeah. I feel like there's no in between. Like you either fucking love metal or you don't at all.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's why metal fans are such an insular community, and why for a long time heavy metal had such a weird reputation, because people would be so passionate about it.
Yeah,
but then everybody else, you're right. But then everybody else outside of it like couldn't figure out why these people care. They're like, it's just noise. What are you doing?
Yeah, and it's acquired taste too. I remember hearing like, that band Knights of the Abyss.
I know the name.
Yeah, they were pretty intense, but that was like one of the first gnarly things I had heard where somebody like just sounded like that with a mic, and I put it on in my car and my mom was like, they sound like vacuum cleaners. What's wrong with them? And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I like it. And then like 2 weeks later, I was just obsessed.
Right.
But other bands, Some of my favorites would be like The Faceless or Burning the Masses, or I was really into Arson Skeletal Girls. They were kind of like a metalcore, hardcore mashup, but Between the Buried Me is like another all-time favorite.
I know them.
Yeah, they're more of like a progressive death metal thing, but they're pretty weird, but they're awesome.
What was the band? Fuck, we can just talk about death metal for 40 minutes now. But
dude, I'm down.
What was the band? You know that band Cryptopsy?
Cryptopsy?
They were big for me. I think they were a little less of like the technical side. They were just like, they were death metal, but like... Yeah, but not that technical.
Yeah. No, I'd never heard of them, actually.
They're really dope. I was coming up in Minnesota, so maybe it was like a Midwest thing. I don't know. So, I mean, you're playing in bands. You're in school with Tanner, a.k.a. Getter, at the time. Were you guys just like fast friends at that point? Like,
yeah, we were pretty much instantly best friends in high school.
And still to this day, more or less, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
You're living with him, so hopefully.
Yeah, but I think like initially that's kind of what got us into production, is at least me personally, when Tanner found like producing and we both found like dubstep and all that shit, I kind of took that as an opportunity to like, hey, I don't have to be in a band and wait for anyone else to do anything for me at this point. Like I can just do everything myself, and that was the most attractive thing about it.
Yeah, I was about to ask, because you told the story about playing the drum kick triggered by a MIDI guitar and all that. I mean, did you go that route just so you didn't have to like find a drummer? And
yeah, we couldn't find a good drummer. Like me and Tanner kind of switched off playing drums, but you know, drumming is hard and we were both picking it up.
Right.
You know, right then. So like, especially technical death metal is like the most insane shit ever. So.
Sure. Well, how did it evolve from metal? Like, what was your first exposure to electronic music that really caught your ear?
I'd heard stuff before, but I think I heard Warp by the Bloody Beetroots. That was like maybe the first real, like, where I was like, whoa, this is sick.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's such a great gateway song, because I mean, that is almost a metal song.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
Like, it's really close.
And the energy from metal transfers so well over to like dubstep and the heavier side of electronic music.
Absolutely.
It's very similar in my opinion.
It's funny how many people you talk to who do what we do now who had a metal background.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So many people jumped ship just...
I know, right? The genre kind of went stale. And
yeah, a little bit. I don't even really know who's just killing it now for metal.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell you, to be honest. I still listen to the same bands pretty much.
Yeah, I do too.
I've seen people like, there's this band Slaughter to Prevail. Okay. A bunch of Russian dudes, and they're pretty fucking sick. I think they're pretty new. But like, I haven't heard of a lot of other new guys. There are bands like Animals as Leaders who are just kind of like all instrumental and like just so talented they can't not have attention. But
yeah. Well, you know, it's just funny. I thought of this. Like, you know, it's bad news when the metal bands started making dubstep albums. Like I remember Korn put out a dubstep album, and I was like,
man, that was all. I think that was Sluggo, that dubstep producer.
Yeah.
He was working with them on
he did
that.
a bunch. Kill the Noise did one of those.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Shit, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And then they did a big release party in LA where they had all the dubstep guys come and play. And I thought it was awesome that they were doing it, but you know, to me that was a sign of like, yeah, metal's maybe not doing so great.
Yeah, and it was also kind of a prototype, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, yeah.
It was the first time anyone had ever done anything like that, and the genres clashed a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, like it didn't really work that well. But, I mean, you look at what some of the dubstep guys are doing now, bringing in lots of metal elements, and you can kind of see maybe they were just ahead of the time a little bit.
Oh, definitely. And production value has just like gone up a lot, obviously. Like, it's just like all around
race now.
Sound is unflex.
Well, how did you start getting into production in general? Like beyond the, you know, just like triggering the kick drums and all of that. Like, when did you start trying to make like a fully featured song out of it?
Not too long after that, actually. Tanner got Reason, and I looked at it and it looked so complicated, but I ended up buying it too and figuring it out. And just kind of the shit I was making when I started was just like weird, man. It was all over the place, but like you got to start somewhere, I guess.
Oh, everybody starts weird, man.
Yeah. And Reason was actually really interesting to learn on.
I was about to say, because Reason was too intimidating for me. I tried and I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
but then for the people who did and pushed through, they're like, all those people are my favorite producers. Yeah. Like, there's something about Reason. The thing is with Reason is everything kind of looks like it would in real life. Like, it all looks like analog gear. So you learn I/O and you learn all that random crap that you would never have to even think about with another program. That's true. Do you still use it?
No, I haven't touched it in a while.
Okay.
I really want some of the VSTs, or I mean, just the synths that they had in there.
Yeah.
Like Maelstrom would be awesome to use, and Subtractor as well.
Powerful synths. Man.
Yeah, they're great, but rewiring is a pain in the ass. I kind of don't really like doing it. I did a while ago actually just make some patches and like bounce audio.
Right. I think that's all you can do really.
Yeah.
Because for me, especially anytime I'm working, like I just want everything to be as simple and efficient as possible. Mm-hmm. The more time I spend trying to get one thing to get a signal from another thing, like the less inspired I get.
Yeah, it turns into too much technicality to keep you being creative.
Which is not to shit on people who do that, because I'm actually impressed and kind of envious of the people who like love to just sit and tinker all day like that. Because I mean, they get amazing results, but it's just never been my creative process.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm half and half like that. Like I don't save patches ever.
Really?
Yeah. I start everything from scratch as I'm going. And it's got me really good at just doing things that I remember how to do,
Yeah,
like,
you probably pick up more tricks that way.
Yeah, and all of my sounds sound different every song too,
right.
Which is, I feel like, keeps my songs more interesting.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. But it's interesting, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but all of the music you've been putting out lately, it does all sound different, but then, I mean, it's very cohesive. Like if you listened all in a row, right? To me, that vision is really interesting is that something you consciously think about, like trying to make all these different sounds, not repeating yourself, but still somehow everything hangs together?
Yes, more so now actually than ever. Because, I was thinking about it for a while, like a couple of years ago, and every song I put out, even to me, it sounded like a different producer made every song and every different song. And I didn't think that was like a good way of going about things, because I was thinking every band or producer or whatever that I truly love, like if I hear a song, even that I haven't heard by them yet, I can pretty much tell you who it is every time, because they have a style and that style transfers over all of their songs, and it's like recognizable, and it's what makes a producer or an artist, in my opinion.
I agree. I think it's really essential. I mean, how do you, on a day-to-day basis, like how do you try to maintain that for yourself? Is it a conscious thing? Yeah,
it's a bit of a conscious thing now. Because, if I just make whatever I want, then like it could go off the rails.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to keep it within a realm now.
Yeah.
Which I think has helped a lot too.
Yeah, I think people can latch onto it a lot easier that way. I think people can comprehend when you're kind of presenting like a fully formed vision,
Yeah.
Rather than just like, I'm a guy and I made a song.
Yeah, exactly. It seems more professional, and I think it just makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it's more exciting too. It reminds me of, the shit I used to love as a kid, what we were just talking about. I mean, all of that, there was, I got into the vision of it. I got into the story of it. The look of it, everything. And for so long, when I started producing, my goal was just to make a cool tune,
Yeah.
And which is not a bad goal to start off with, but
no, definitely. I mean, everyone goes through that, like, I want to make a banger.
Right. But then after a while, you sort of realize there's a pretty low ceiling on that.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now, I don't know, man. Like, I look at, kids who are just trying to get into it now, who are doing the same things that people 5 years ago were doing, trying to follow those same footsteps. And it's just, I feel bad, man, because I don't know what to tell them, but that shit is not going to work anymore.
I mean, it could take some people a long time to kind of like find where they want to be at with music, and like everyone goes through that. I feel like it's exhausting for people like us to watch, because we've done that, and you know, you could tell them, like, you could say something like, hey, like, but I don't know, it's also not your place at the same time. So
yeah, and it's one of those things that I think people have to come to it on their own. You know what I mean? Like if somebody, when I was just starting off, had tried to tell me, you know, well, don't put out this song, try to work on this instead, I wouldn't have understood what they were talking about.
Yeah, you know? Me either. Yeah. Honestly, been like, no, I'm making like more dubstep.
Well, and so for you, I mean, that journey of starting off to now, did anything change along the way? Was there like a singular moment where you kind of realized that you wanted to make it more focused of a vision, or was it more of just a gradual, you know, revising of what you were doing to get to the point where you're at now?
I think I was just having fun with it for so long that I didn't really think about it like I wanted to make something out of it.
Right.
It wasn't really like that for me. It was just kind of like I have to be doing something when I'm not working on school or everything else. So I just would always create music and just post it on the internet. And I was going under Slosh for a very long time, making dubstep.
Great dubstep name.
Yeah, it was just the dirtiest thing I could think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to school and I went to like a community college, and then I transferred out to another college and was like about to get like a music degree at this college, and I just realized like I wasn't learning anything. Like I knew all of that crap, and I realized that I wanted to try this artist thing, and I dropped out of college. And
how'd your parents feel about that?
Not great at first. Yeah, but that's when I started really thinking like about just doing something else with the project, because I knew I didn't want to do dubstep at that point. And I started making mid-tempo music about 2 years ago now, actually. I just have not released anything for a very long time.
Interesting.
So
what was the inspiration for the mid-tempo move?
A couple of different artists, actually. Mainly Gesalfestein and the duo Oliver.
Oh yeah, Oliver is amazing.
Yeah, I heard their songs and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, they're like...
just Oliver has the most well-mixed tracks, and just
I mean,
all
they might
together
be the best. Like, honestly,
they're amazing.
Yeah, I feel like they're not unsung, but they definitely don't get all the recognition they deserve.
Oh, they're definitely unsung in my opinion. Like they deserve so much more.
It's crazy, man. Shout out to Oliver, man.
Yeah,
amazing
seriously.
Producers, and obviously Gesalfestein too. not so bad himself.
I love Gesalfestein. Like that's why I threw out his name too. Like he definitely started something, and started mixing some stuff that no one had ever thought about doing before.
Yeah. It was just new sounds, like new combinations of ideas.
Yeah.
Like he reminded me, and it makes sense because they're both French, but like of when Justice first came out.
Yeah.
And people just couldn't imagine that you could mash up this like crazy distorted rock sound with the dance music, drums, and conventions. And when when Gesalfestein came out, it was even the higher level of that idea.
Yeah, it was just more intense and darker.
Way darker. Yeah.
I love Justice too, actually. I heard Justice songs a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Been into that, but it didn't really spark that the way the other guys did.
So when you were going to college, were you thinking that music was something that you wanted to do like later in life? Like it would be something you could do as a job?
No, you know what? I think I was pretty depressed through college just because I thought like I couldn't do what I love to make money. Like I wrote that off completely. I was like, it's not a career choice that's realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just kind of changed my mind one day and took a risk.
What did before that, what did you think you were going to have to do if not music?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's actually because going to that college, they set you up with like, oh, you're going to be an engineer or something, like it.
Right.
So I was like, oh, could get a job doing that. But I didn't realize that like you can get those jobs through just being in the music industry anywhere. You don't need a fucking diploma for that. That's like, that college was accredited actually. So
sure.
You would get a real bachelor's degree from that place. So that's the only reason.
Which is, there is some value to that, but it is one of those things where once you start working in real studios and all that, I've seen people like laughing at people with degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this kid wants to come intern. He went to such and such a school, and they'll, just write it off.
I think in part it's probably because they're a little like it might be a projection because they're like, I didn't go to college. Like,
Yeah, I
fuck
think
this
you're
kid.
right.
But like, I don't see why they wouldn't be any less qualified or any less qualified than just
No, I agree.
somebody else.
I agree.
Who knows
I mean,
their
those
shit.
schools aren't all bad. Some of them are amazing.
Yeah.
But
You learn stuff very conventionally. Like it's the way they teach things is like you have to do it this way kind of thing.
Right.
But I had teachers who said like, oh, you learn these things and then you can break the rules later. But I feel like that puts a cap on creativity in a way because you should always be thinking outside the box, especially with programs.
yeah, 100%. I mean, in some ways, it's helpful to not even know what the rules are.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I started and shit was weird. So,
Did you learn anything in school that, you still take value from today?
A couple things about, hardware, because just I had no access to that.
Yeah.
Not in school, and there were these awesome studios there. And so I learned, like hardware compressors and a bunch of random effects stuff and just some recording too. Not much that I didn't already know about recording, but.
So, once you dropped out of school, you're still in the Bay Area at that point?
Yeah, at that point I was still in the Bay Area and I was making just music all the time and I was working as well.
What were you doing for work?
So I actually started working for my friend's dad's company and I was like building furniture.
Okay.
Which was pretty fun, actually. I learned a lot of skills doing that.
I bet, actually, yeah. Doing what we do now, sometimes I feel like doing, like hands-on, just manual labor kind of stuff is actually really rewarding.
Yeah, it's like therapeutic.
It really is, man. Yeah, I feel very much the same way. And how did that evolve? Obviously we were talking about Getter. Was his career starting to like take shape at that point? Like, how did he get from the point of you dropped out of school, you're building furniture, making music in your spare time, to taking it, going on tour, taking it much more seriously?
I actually don't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure he was doing pretty well for himself, like a year or so before that, just kind of touring around and. Like after I dropped out of school the next year, like I dropped out of school in like September of like maybe 2015 or something. And then like the next year, Tanner hit me up and was like, you want to come on tour for the following fall?
Right. And how was that first like big tour experience?
That was pretty crazy, man.
What was
I was
that
just
like?
getting like thrown from like, doing shitty club shows and like random bars and shit like that to just like full on venues all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you
was
were
like,
DJing locally at the time?
Randomly. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a manager. I didn't have anything.
Sure.
I just kind of like knew some people in some places who were like, want to spin this every once in a while?
Oh, dude, I
Like,
did that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so that's all I did, really. But
I think even that is like, maybe you did not have this experience, but for me, it was a good learning experience doing those kind of gigs where nobody really cares who you are, what you're doing, and you kind of have to work really hard to make people have a good time and to satisfy who's ever paying you. Like for me, I think it made me a way better DJ and made me understand how, why people like certain music and why certain things work in the moment.
yeah, absolutely. That's especially true in environments where, not everyone is even there for you, really.
Oh, 100%.
Like a lot of the people are just there to get fucked up or something, and you're just there as well.
This is somewhat of a tangent, but I have to ask because I was told that at some point you had a bit of a moment on Vine.
Oh, kind of, yeah. I mean, a couple of my Vines blew up, but that was mostly in part from like Tanner and Nick revining my shit too,
Okay.
And because no one else was seeing it.
Was that like, am I in the right era or was that a little later?
Yeah, that was right. I think that was right before I dropped out of school, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only bring this up so I can shamelessly talk about Vine, but
I love Vine, man. I miss Vine.
I miss Vine too.
Whenever I was bored, I would just like put together a skit and post it, and it was fun.
Yeah, well, and that seems to be with all of you guys, like your whole peer group, there's a high level of musical talent, but then there's also like this comedic element to it, which I think is maybe just the fact that you guys have been friends for so long and it's kind of like a window into that friendship. But not you specifically, but just the whole group, I feel like, has been creating like entertaining content along with high quality music for a long time. And I feel like that's kind of unique.
Yeah, I guess not a lot of people do that. I just feel like as long as I can remember, when I found YouTube, me and my friends would always just like find the best skit channels.
Yeah.
And we'd just like obsess over them. Like, do you remember Balloon Shop?
No, I don't think I know Balloon Shop.
Oh my God, they're amazing. We just like watch all their videos all the time because they're fucking hilarious. And I think all of us have just always wanted to do that. So
do you still want to do that? Like, do you?
I mean, like, it's not where I'm focusing my time really, but like, I still like, I helped Tanner film a bunch of his skits, but like,
because he got huge on Vine, right?
Yeah. He had a pretty big following.
My Vine story, which I tell at every opportunity, is that I've only posted one Vine in my entire life, but that Vine has like 60 million views now.
That's crazy. Like, and what was it?
It was the Rick Ross pear thing.
You posted that originally?
That was me. That was me, baby. That whole meme.
Fucking 30 of those views were me at least.
Well, and it turned into this whole insane thing where people made all these other memes out of it. Rick Ross bought a $10,000 pear chain, all crazy shit off of this stupid thing that I did. But
that's hilarious. You were just the first one to like chop it out of the interview and put it on Vine.
Yeah.
It's funny how easy that is.
Just it was so easy. And there was no thought behind it. I'm not even good at social media. I was just like, oh, that's a funny thing. I'll like, put it on here. That was literally the thought process.
I mean, yeah, but that's all Vine was. It's like, I think this is funny. Maybe other people will.
I don't really know how to participate that well in social media anymore. Like, it's becoming less and less fun for me.
Yeah, I'm not so great at it either, honestly. The one thing I can keep up with is Instagram, to be honest. But like, I just don't know how to tweet my every thought. Like, that doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm trying a little bit.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right, because I like Twitter. I think it's just, I'm a nerd. I like to read. I like writing. But at the same time, I never feel like anyone should care about what I think that much,
I mean, that's good.
I feel like, yeah, for sure.
It means you're humble, I guess.
Hopefully, man. I don't know. But, but then there is that fine line of like, I do want people to know who I am. Like, I'm an artist. I'm trying to get people to pay attention to what I'm doing. It's just a weird line. What are you doing?
My dog is just trying to mess up our life right now.
I don't even remember what I was saying. But basically, I mean, for me, it's just a fine line of like, I don't want to be that arrogant person who just posts up like a diary and expects other people to celebrate them for it. But at the same time, I do want people to, have a sense of who I am and like talk to other people online. It's like kind of what we're all here for.
I get what you mean. Like, I don't want to vent or do anything like that on social media. So I don't know. I just post stupid shit. Like, I feel like you can either be a philosopher or you can just be a comedian. You can do whatever you want. Like, you can post memes if you want,
Pretty much. But it is, man. It's a complicated relationship. We have to engage with it to promote what we're doing to a certain extent. But it's always a fine line. And I'm always envious of people. Like, even what you post, I think is really funny. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. Like, I never think to post that kind of shit in the moment.
Man, like, the funny thing is like, you think what I post is good, but I don't think what I think what I post is very good. And I feel like the chain just goes up. You know what I mean? Like, nobody likes their own tweets. They just do it.
Well, and that's true for music too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about how sometimes it can be hard to work with people if you think they're extremely talented, because it's possible to get intimidated, or you don't want them to think that you're not as good, that kind of thing. The basic insecurities we all have.
Yeah.
But then the person I was talking to, he was like, you got to remember, this happens at every single level of the game. Like,
it's the human condition. Like.
Right. He was like, look, like Jay-Z just wants to be U2. And U2 just wants to be the Beatles. And, it's like, it's just all the way to the top. Everybody's comparing themselves to somebody else.
Yeah, it's because, I mean, people who are motivated, at least, just like, always want to better themselves, and they hear something, they have good taste,
Yeah.
If they themselves are good and doing well, I feel like they have good taste, and they just want to compare themselves to everyone else.
Oh,
hey,
right.
Can you guys hear me hitting the jewel? Oh, it's crazy.
There we go. Yeah, so earlier on, I was asking about the touring and, going on tour with Getter, kind of just getting dropped into that from, the local DJ perspective. What was that like, that first experience, getting out there, playing bigger shows, different audience, being on the big stage?
Well, being on a stage, period, is kind of nerve-wracking for
Yes.
me. I have anxiety around stage performance, but I was opening, too, a lot of the shows. Sometimes I would have, we would switch off between opening and right afterwards. But there were also no other local openers really playing that, because actually one of the first stops, a local opener played 3 or 4 of Tanner's songs, and we're just like, nope, fuck that.
Yep.
So
classic local opener mistake.
Yeah, me and Spock kind of just got into open up the venue, and it's almost more nerve-wracking to have one row of people on their phones.
Yeah.
While you're playing.
Having the opening slot
You're
is
like,
hard.
oh, holy shit, this is just I'm just like a clown up here.
Right. Yeah, no, it can be not humiliating, but I mean, it can be sort of just disheartening,
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, I had my fair share of filled out crowds, and yeah, that was pretty cool, getting to do that. I'm forever thankful for being thrown into that.
Did it help you with production at all? Understanding, the ways tunes hit people in big clubs, that kind of thing?
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much guaranteed at any of the shows, if I played dubstep, people would lose their fucking minds. But
yeah, fair enough.
that was just when I was not trying to do that anymore. So
right.
I was playing other stuff, and I would stop playing dubstep, and people would stand there and stare at me.
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, how do you, because even now, I think the mid-tempo sound you're doing is coming into fashion. It's definitely more popular than it
I'm
was.
starting to see that. It's interesting.
But how do you sell it? That kind of sound that's not dubstep, that's not something that's instantly identifiable. How do you do that? Because I know you, there's a narrative behind what you're doing. A lot of your songs, you'll post up stories about kind of the inspiration or the artwork. It seems like there's a bigger vision there.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that, as far as the stories go, I've had that in my mind for a very long time. I actually wrote Mind Travel, that song that just came out over a year ago. That is an old track by me. And I wrote the script with it, at the same time. And I had scripts before, and I was kind of doing my own character design, even though I can't draw. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've always wanted to write a story with music.
I like that, man.
Just now, coming into that. But I have much bigger plans for it. The art and all this is just the beginning for me.
I like that, man. I was talking to Seven Lions, who was saying he's kind of wanting to get into something similar, in the sense of he doesn't want it to be about him as a person. He didn't even want to really have his face up there anymore.
Yeah.
He just wanted to step back and kind of paint this whole world that people could walk into.
Yeah, I mean, that's more or less what I'm going for, really. I want, when you think of the music, I want you to picture the stuff in your head and be immersed in the world,
Yeah. Even the structure of the music, I feel like it's a little more cinematic, it's not just a club tune, you know what I mean?
Everyone's always said that, but
is that not intentional?
That was not intentional. That's just kind of the way I write music. Maybe I watch too many movies.
Well, yeah, where does that come from? Are you a movie guy? Were you a comic book guy?
All of that. I'm just a media guy. I love animation, and I just love movies and everything,
And is this kind of your way of tying all that together? Did you ever try to, do comics or anything like that when you were younger?
Yeah, I'm sure I wrote some crappy comics when I was younger, but once again, I'm not the best painter or artist, so I try. Every once in a while I'll draw something and I'm like, holy shit, that looks cool, but it's not second nature for me.
Right. Well, and I mean, now it seems like finally people, it's you've got the vision starting to come out. It's pretty cohesive, I think. I think it works really well. Definitely, I mean, I've hear your name flying around. I see the tunes flying around. Do you feel like you're catching a little momentum at this point?
I mean, as far as just getting my shit out there, this is the most productive I've ever been. But I haven't really noticed yet.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a little early on. But I don't know. Hopefully people are liking it and it's picking up.
I mean, I think this is how it starts, man, because I talk from like an insider perspective. And so to me, this is how it always happens is that, the DJs and the producers are talking about a person before the public, right? Because we're sending everything to each other and hearing what's happening in real time. And then, I don't know, to me, that's the way it goes, is like if somebody is being talked about in those circles, then eventually it gets out to the larger public. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's awesome to hear people are talking about me. I don't know about.
Oh, for sure, man. Well, I mean, even to just like give you like a story you may not know is that I've been working with Conrad, who manages both of us, for a long time. And back when he was a smaller operation, anytime he was thinking about working with people, he'd kind of like play demos of those people to the rest of us who was already working with him. And we'd listen and give it opinions, whatever it is. And he would play us a lot of terrible stuff. Like, he was like, what do you think of this? We're like, nope, garbage.
Damn.
Don't do it.
Cold.
Yeah, but you got to be, man, for the business
of course.
side. But then he played us your stuff. And I mean, instantly all of us were like, oh, yeah, this is the one right here. Like, it's impressive, man. And it makes more sense now that I hear you say that you've been kind of doing it in secret or in silence for years and just letting it out now.
Yeah.
What made you decide that this was the time to start putting it out?
I think when I met Conrad, actually, it all kind of started coming together because I just had this music and I didn't know what to do with it. Like I could have self-released, but at the same time, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So when someone came up to me and was like, this is how you do it, I just kind of, all that fell together.
Yeah.
But I had plans to just start self-releasing by myself beforehand. I just didn't, I don't know. I had all these songs that I had just like kind of finished, like maybe 3 or 4. And I was like, I want to put these out in a string,
Right.
So it just came up to me finishing Kill or Be Killed, which was one of my more recent ones, actually, that has been released. All the other ones are a bit older.
It's a cool story, because I think you kind of hit it at the right time. Like, I think this is a good time to be putting out the music that you're putting out. I think there's an audience for it. I think people are ready.
Yeah, no, that was actually all by chance and luck, I guess.
That was not planned.
There was no plan. I was actually kind of confused seeing all these other mid-tempo artists coming out of nowhere. I was like, whoa, I'm not alone.
It's a wave.
Yeah, well, I guess so.
And leading up to that, I mean, you've been in LA for a couple of years. I think we were talking before we started recording that, you're helping run the Trippy Burger line. And is the Shred Collective group, is that still a thing? Are you guys still doing stuff as a group?
Oh yeah, it's all like a solid team. Like everyone kind of like Shred Collective will help everyone, with all their releases, even if they're not on Shred Collective.
Sure.
Which is why you'll see like random YouTube videos from other labels being posted up, or just support in general.
Well, I mean, for the listeners who may not know, what is Shred Collective?
It's just a collective of artists that in part a label, in part a clothing brand, and in part it's going to be more things. It's going to be a lot of things, and it's just starting to grow now. And Tanner's trying to bring that in a direction where more than just electronic music will be put out through it. So it's going to be really cool.
Well, yeah, and I mean, certainly he seems to be moving in that direction too. And maybe that's a good question for you, like just coming out now. How do you see the state of dance music in the US in 2018? Because it's changed a lot over the last couple of years. And I think a lot of us, and maybe I'm just speaking for me, but it's in a weird place to me right now. There's a lot of the music that I don't necessarily love, and more so just the culture, I think, has gotten maybe away from what most of us got into it for, the original reasons. And so, I don't know, how do you see yourself fitting into it, or just sort of what do you think the state of dance music is right now?
It's I don't really have an idea of what direction it's going in. Like I can't act like I know what the future is going to be
really
like.
Does.
I just hope it goes in, a cool direction. Like,
well, because it seems like,
but I'm still hearing great music all the time.
Yes,
it just seems like it's a little bit harder to find right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think to me it seems like there's a contraction happening a little bit because I think a few years ago you could just put out a couple cool songs and then you were on tour and then you were just, kind of in the atmosphere of all of it. But now, I mean, I don't know if I buy into the EDM bubble bursting and all of that. I think there's still plenty to go around, but I do think you have to stand out a little bit more.
Exactly. Originality will always win, in my opinion. And there are people who are going to feed off of that always, but like when something new arises, sorry, I'm not even talking.
It's all good.
When something new arises, it's going to be much better.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to think about it because exactly what you just said is that we can't, like if you try to chase those trends, you're going to lose automatically more or less. And so all you can do is make what you think is good and what you think is valuable. And, we all kind of hope that that's going to be what people latch onto or what, will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
But even if it's not, had we tried to do something else, it would have just been corny and fake, right? If you're just trying to chase the trends. I don't know. I always love talking about this kind of stuff because none of us can predict where it's going, but I think everyone is kind of like wondering, it's just a weird time.
There's a lot of tension building, I guess.
Did you ever feel pressure to like, or even internally that, if you made a certain style, you would fit in more, or if you changed something about what you were doing that, maybe success would happen faster? Was that ever a worry?
No,
because it has been for me sometimes.
When I switched to Sneek, the original thing I started doing was just making like trap hybrid shit, and then like bass house and whatever. I was trying to take a new twist on it, but like at the same time, I made a couple, and then immediately I was like, I don't want to do this. So so, I mean, maybe that was it. Maybe subconsciously I was like, I got to switch up my dubstep and do this. But yeah, I mean, right after that, I took the leap and just decided to start making this mid-tempo stuff, even though I thought it was really risky. I just enjoyed it more, Yeah.
So. Well, I think people could take a lesson from that, man, because I think it's such a strong vision, and I think you did, like we were just saying, you did it before it was the thing that a lot of people were doing, and it just so happened that you kind of hit the wave, and, now you're in a good place where what you like to do is also what people like to listen to.
I mean, that's actually a thought that I've had that no one would believe me anyways, because none of the music has come out until 2018, and that's when other mid-tempo artists started coming around. So
Sure. But I mean, we can get it out there on this podcast.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth.
That's the truth. Well, and you said you had big aspirations, that this was kind of just the beginning of the narrative and the stories you want to tell. Where do you want to take it in the future?
Oh, I think like anything is possible with the storyline I kind of started up, like I have so many ideas for random situations that the characters will get into, and like it's a completely different world. So I just feel like physics could be different, whatever could be different, and
And does actually, this is a question I was wondering about earlier. Does the story that you think up, well, which comes first, the music or the story?
So
first of all,
part of the music comes first, and then I kind of think about where I would be, hearing this music, like what this music would be playing to in a soundtrack in a movie.
Yeah.
And then I kind of add, my own vocal samples or whatever to fit the dialogue. And that's what I did with Mind Travel and Kill or Be Killed and Grudge as well, too, actually.
Okay, yeah. So they kind of grow together a little bit, is what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
It's just cool. I haven't seen many people doing it, and I think you'll probably find a lot of like-minded people who appreciate the thought into it. I think any good art, and this is not just music, but I think any good art has those kinds of layers where, say you put out a song, somebody could just listen to the song and say, oh, that's a good song. But then if they look closer, they look at the artwork, maybe they see the story you've posted, then there's more layers that if they want to, they can go down that road. I think all of my favorite art, movies, anything is like that. Something that works on a surface level and then also has a deeper meaning if you want to spend a little more time.
Absolutely, yeah. And like both should be a standalone in my opinion too. Like either could work without the other.
Sure.
And but eventually, you know, I want it to be one thing. I want it to be just that. Like you see the animated short and it becomes that in your head.
Yeah. Do you think about, like, have you even gotten to the point of thinking about what a future live show could look like?
Absolutely. I have a lot of ideas brewing up for that.
Anything you want to share, or is it a little too early for that?
It might be too early.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hold those ideas to myself so none of you other sneaky producers snatch them up from me.
No, that's fair. But I like that, man, because you said earlier you weren't necessarily comfortable on stage. That gives you some anxiety. And I feel like building that world is maybe a way to be safe up there, you know?
Yeah, in a way. I still feel like, I don't know if it'll help me realistically, but just being up. I mean,
do you still get anxious every time?
The anxiety, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Even 2 months on the road, every single show, I would get like a knot in my stomach for the hour before my set.
Yeah, that sounds kind of rough.
Yeah, it is pretty rough. But, you know, like you get used to it, and having a couple beers helps, definitely.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Oops. Got to watch that too, though, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, but I've done pretty well without it at the same time too. But like, yeah, I mean, after 2 months, like even the last date's still just every day. Which I mean, I'll figure out a way to combat that. I feel like at some point.
Oh, it'll couple along, man. Yeah, and it seems like you got a good head on your shoulders here. I think the biggest part is being aware of it, right?
Yeah, exactly, and wanting to change it too.
Right. Yeah,
definitely a factor.
Is touring fun for you? Like what?
Yeah, touring's awesome.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, especially a tour bus. Like touring on a plane is pretty. That's a lot. Yes. But I mean, we all bear through. But yeah, a tour bus is just like a summer camp with your friends.
Basically, yeah. Tour bus is amazing. Yeah. Every single time.
The one thing for anybody who gets on a tour bus, though, cover up the vent at your feet.
That's a great tip, actually.
Yeah. You'll get sick immediately.
Yeah, those things get cold as shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the problem is once somebody gets sick on the bus, then everybody gets sick.
Yeah, and I was the first one to get sick too. So like I was like
you were patient zero.
The carrier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was that piece of shit.
Well, this has been great, man. I mean, we could keep going here, but I guess to wrap it up, where do you want to take this in 6 months, in a year? What should people be looking out for? What are you working on right now?
Just more to the story, like more consistent releases, like music you can depend on hearing constantly, and just, more releases. And yeah, no, I just hope to further along the story and help it evolve more and get it into more people's hands.
I love it, man. Well, I think you're already well on your way. And we kind of usually wrap up the show by just asking a random question, simple question. You don't have to think about it very hard. But just a time in your life, first thing that pops into your head, just a time in your life when music really changed your brain or really affected you in a deep way. Could be just a moment, a song you heard on the radio. Could be something you heard 5 minutes ago or something from your childhood. Just anything, first thing that pops into your head. Doesn't have to be significant.
As cliche and cheesy as this sounds, actually, it was when I heard Scata by Skrillex.
Oh, yeah.
I was completely blown away. I didn't know you could make those sounds with a synthesizer. That sounded like organic and like it was a living, breathing thing, which it just blew my mind. And that's, what inspired me to initially really push my sound design. I think.
Yeah.
I was already into electronic music, but that was like, whoa.
Right. Yeah, it kind of shows you the levels you could go into it. And I love that, man, because all of us get inspired from each other. And I think that still happens to this day. I'll hear somebody put out a new song with a sound I've never heard. Be like, how the fuck did he make that sound? Or,
Yeah, it's a constant inspiration hearing people push the envelope.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's a really good one. Well, this has been great, man. Thanks for having me over.
Of course, man.
Good to finally actually meet you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
100%, man. We'll come back and do part 2 6 months, 12 months down the road.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace out.
All right, that's the show. Shout out to Sneek. Thank you for having me over, man. Great to finally get to hang out. For everybody out there listening, whether you're in your car, whether you're at work, at the gym, at home, week after week, it's great to have you guys along for the ride. And that's it, man. Make sure to follow the Back to Bangers Spotify playlist. Make sure to check out Sneek's new song, Grudge. All of that is going to be linked in the description of this episode. My name is Willy Joy, and I will talk to you guys next Tuesday. Stay tuned. Big stuff coming. Until then, have a good one. For Back to Back, peace.